to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, everybody, and guests on Zoom to our March 20th, 2023. Apologize for starting a little late here. We're at like 1:24 or something like that. I asked the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Scott M. Howitz, President.
I am present.
William R. Pell, Secretary of Treasury, is here. Edward J. Warner, Jr.
Here.
Ann Walker.
Here.
And William Parrish.
Here.
We're all here,
All
ready
right.
to go.
So for the public's information, our next meeting will be on April 3rd, 2023, 9:30 a.m. work session, followed by the 1 p.m. general session at that point in time. Moving right along, we do have some discussions. We do have, I believe, a presentation by Pete Topping, the Peconic Bait Keeper.
Via Zoom.
Via Zoom.
Zoom.
Correct? Are we ready to? Terrific.
Thank you, Charles.
Hey, James, can you bring that mic a little closer?
Yes. That better?
Hi, Pete.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, my computer was switching. I'm live?
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
you're
Pete.
good, Pete.
You're live, buddy.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm sorry I can't be in person. I had a child care issue today. So thank you for accommodating. But what I wanted to do is just provide the trustees with just an update on some of the things that Peconic Baykeeper has been working on, including the Oyster Garden program. So I'm going to go to share screen. Hopefully this will work. All right, can everyone see me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Is that working? All right, so just for the sake of audience introduction, this is Pete Topping. I'm the executive director and gatekeeper of Peconic Baykeeper, which is an environmental nonprofit working throughout the East End. And we are situated out of Hampton Bays, so quite a bit of our work occurs in Southampton town waters. I believe the trustees are fairly familiar with this program, but one of the programs that we've been working on the last few years is in partnership with Surfrider, Eastern Long Island, and we monitor sites throughout the East End for Enterococcus bacteria, same bacteria that the county health department monitors for. And in 2020, when we weren't allowed to access Stony Brook Southampton's lab for quite a while, we actually set up a lab in our office in Hampton Bays. And in 2021, we got funding from the Long Island Community Foundation to expand this program. And now we have 29 different sites in Southampton town waters. Last year we added sites Indian Island and Flanders, Wildwood Lake, Long Neck Boulevard, Red Creek Pond, Cold Spring Pond, North Sea Harbor, and many others. So I just wanted to put this on the trustees' radar if it wasn't already. All this information is shared publicly on our website, and we test weekly in the summer, bi-weekly, spring and fall, and just once a month in the wintertime. This is an example. If you go to our website, you can go to the water quality program, and every week, about 24 hours after we test, we have all that information ready and accessible with all the numbers. The majority of the time, most of these sites test pretty clean. We do see some areas of concern after heavy rain runoff, especially near boat ramps. And this can also indicate high bacteria. It can be coming from a lot of sources, so that could mean dog waste, it could mean swans and geese, it doesn't mean that it's directly caused by humans, but it is something that is important to be aware of. Another program that we started last year is we started working with NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and they do a phytoplankton monitoring program, and we're out on the boat a lot and have scientific backgrounds. So this program provided us with plankton nets and a really cool high resolution video microscope. And we can take samples when we're out on the water. Last year we were able to identify rust tide out in Great Peconic Bay. Fortunately, last year that was a pretty short-lived bloom. And we also see things like diatoms and some pretty interesting stuff. So it's just something else that we're able to kind of keep an eye on now while we're out in the water. Another program that we've been doing in Southampton town is monitoring horseshoe crab spawning. And we are a co-site coordinator along with the South Shore Estuary Reserve at Meadow Lane, so opposite Dune Beach in Shinnecock Bay. And we're out there from early May until early July, not only counting horseshoe crabs around the times of the full and new moons, but also working to tag a number of these individuals as well. And on May 19th, we'll be doing a volunteer night with the South Fork Natural History Museum. So if anyone watching wants to come out and see what we're doing, please get in touch with them. And then another thing that we've been involved in quite a bit in Southampton town is alewife monitoring. I know the Southampton town trustees have been very supportive of this. With most notably, we got the Woodhole Dam fish passage completed last year, and it looks like fish are starting to use that this spring. I monitor Alewife Creek at the North Sea Road culvert. I stop by there almost daily in the springtime. Also Ligony Brook in Sag Harbor. Unfortunately, the water levels are really low right now. Hubbard County Park, Halsey Neck Lane. There are alewives that work through the ditches in the marsh and get into Halsey Neck Pond. And then also I keep an eye on the watermill area, and I've observed alewife scales along the bulkheads by the mill and watermill. We've also been doing river herring walks out of Elliston Park with the Peconic Estuary Partnership and the South Fork Natural History Museum, and then we work with other partners to advocate for stream connectivity projects such as the Woodhole Dam. One thing that I wanted to bring to the trustees' attention, I'm assuming you're all likely aware of this, but the culvert at North Sea Road, I've been documenting pretty extensive stormwater impacts, particularly on the west side there. There's an old pipe that discharges directly into the stream, a lot of road millings and debris, and it's in my opinion, this has gotten worse. I am very aware that the county is planning on doing upgrades to this road, including stormwater runoff. And there's a meeting on Monday the 28th at 7 p.m. and they'll be discussing these plans. But I think it's pretty critical that we all make sure that this is going to be addressed sooner than later. And then the other thing with this culvert is that the current plans that the county has, they don't have any plans right as of now to actually upgrade the culvert structure. I know that the trustees, you put these baffles in to enhance water flow as well as the rock pools, which is definitely helping with the fish passage there. But I have observed, particularly in years where we don't have as much water flow, that a lot of these fish get pulled out of the system by raccoons. I've even seen feral cats around this area. So we have been trying to engage some stakeholders to see if there is a chance to have this culvert upgraded and hopefully improve long-term fish passage to this area. I believe the Noyak Road project, I think, is going to be in the works for this fall. So it would really be great if we could get this whole stream connected back to a more natural state for these fish, and their numbers are going down pretty much across the board for southern New England and our area. And then on a more positive note, I wanted to bring the trustees up to date on our oyster restoration program. So this was a program that started in 2020, which was a difficult year to get much done. So we're really happy to be able to get this implemented. Not only with the support of the trustees, but also Advanced Wastewater Solutions and Delandro Andrews Engineering kicked in some funding to get this started. We now have 15 floating cages in the northeast corner of Cold Spring Pond. These are set up on like a pulley system, so at low tide, we can just pull them into the shore for maintenance. We don't really need a boat to access this area. And last year, we retrieved some oysters that we overwintered from 2021. It was about 38,000, and we're up to 150,000 oysters now that we're adding to the system each year, which is almost double where we started in 2020. Over the season, we hold open maintenance sessions for the public. So we have a couple volunteers that usually show up at each session. And then we've also been working with school groups. So this past year, we actually had a great group of students that came all the way from Southampton to work with us for a day and handle the oysters. And then we also did some limited seeding in Cold Spring Pond. This year, we seeded about 31,000 oysters in Red Creek Pond, and the red circles in the map are kind of a general idea of where we seeded. Some of these oysters were an average of 3 inches of size. So what we're doing is we're overwintering the oysters, growing them out the following season. So instead of seeding these oysters that are about 1 inch long and likely to get eaten pretty quickly, we're putting down some, close to legal harvest size oysters in some cases. Cold Spring Pond, we seeded about 31,000 in Cold Spring Pond as well. The average of those was about 2 inches, including some of the 2-year-olds as well as this season's oysters. And then we seeded about 17,000 oysters in North Sea Harbor. It's not shown on this map, but part of that circle actually goes into where that sanctuary area is in North Sea Harbor. And there's some pretty good bottom, and we did observe quite a few larger oysters along the marsh there. Late October, we've been removing all our gear from Cold Spring Pond, so it's completely seasonal. We don't want to deal with potential ice issues, and also harvest conflicts with people in there scalloping, even though they can still get under the cages if they want. But we do overwinter portion of the oysters on our oyster grant that we have in Great Peconic Bay. We had a pretty good season. We seeded close to 79,000 oysters, average size around 2.5 inches. We seeded them all in Southampton town waters, which were certified. I did apply for a relay permit for seasonally certified waters from the DEC, but our oysters were too large. They said they couldn't be larger than 1.5 inches, which is a bit too small and smaller than what we had. We worked with a bunch of volunteers, and we've had really good feedback, overall from people that have participated, people that are kayaking, paddle boarding. We have to date not received one complaint from any users, so it's been a really, really positive program for us. In 2023, we'll be pulling our overwintered oysters back up, adding another 150,000 oysters to the system. We're going to be working with the Half Shells for Habitat shell recycling program out of Seatuck Environmental, and hopefully doing some local shell recycling. I spoke with Greg Rivara from Cornell. He's going to get us some bay scallops to try out this year. And then the other thing that I would love to just discuss briefly with the trustees is what I'd like to implement going forward would be to work toward creating a pilot sanctuary site for a longer term restoration. Cold Spring Pond, we're ideally I'd like to start with something about 10,000 square feet, so about 1/4 of an acre, 100 by 100 or so. And Cold Spring Pond, it's mostly certified. It's where our program is. There's lots of bottom in there. It's still a pretty clean harbor. We still see bay scallops in there. I know I harvested a few this past fall, which was good by pretty much any standards in the Peconics. There's good recruitment. We do see oysters setting on the ribbed mussels around the creek, around the pond there. And there's not much of a navigation conflict. So, I would propose marking any site with buoys, kind of like some of the other areas. So just 1 or 2 buoys. And other benefits would be like a baseline monitoring the survival. And, for us as a nonprofit, we're always looking for funding opportunities. So being able to explore some of these funding opportunities by creating sanctuaries, especially with some of the work now being done through the New York State Shellfish Restoration Plan, I think would be, both to our advantage and, hopefully the town's advantage. I'm just showing this map just for context. The green is where our nursery site is currently. You can kind of see a dark spot on this map there. That's where the floating cages are. The blue is All that is just depicting the size of a 100 by 100 foot shellfish sanctuary. That could be a potential location, but I'm not saying that was just kind of an arbitrary spot. But I would be amenable to anything that the trustees might think might work in this case. And last but not least, thank you for the opportunity to share updates, and thank you for the opportunity to pursue this program. And we're also really happy to see the implementation of an official aquaculture program in Southampton town through the other efforts. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and if any or all of you have questions, I'd be happy to discuss.
Thank you, Peter, for all your effort and help with the waterways and oysters and the seeding there.
Thanks, Bill.
You've been doing a great job.
Thank you for taking the time to give us a nice update. We really appreciate it, and I think it's great for the public to see the collaboration. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Good job. I do have a couple quick questions. First of all, the sanctuary that you're looking to, basically site in there, what size is the shellfish that you plan on putting in this sanctuary? Because it could determine whether it's certified or seasonally uncertified area, because there is an area in the northeast corner of Cold Springs that is seasonally uncertified. If we could put the shellfish in there, it would give you a nice area, and it would have very little conflict with the recreational and commercial shellfish harvesting.
Yes, so it's a good question, Ed. So our biggest problem, and it's a good problem to have, is that the oysters have actually been growing really, really well. And when I've requested relay permits from the town, they've capped the size at 1.5 inches. Most of the oysters, by the time we end up seeding them, are averaging 2 inches plus. The workaround that I've thought about is technically you could seed these oysters or put them in a sanctuary after December 1st, when that area is open again. We just usually have everything out of the water by that point. So it would be a possibility. It would just mean that we'd be putting down oysters that are smaller, and therefore less likely to survive. But if it's a necessary starting point, that we could explore, then I'd welcome the opportunity. But if there was an area that was certified, that we could identify that would have minimal conflict, and I know a lot of people clam in there. I don't want to be the person that says you can't clam here, or I'm not trying to limit anybody's efforts commercially or recreationally. It's just trying to find a spot that's kind of a balance.
What we could do is think about moving the sanctuary right in front of the closed area.
Yeah.
You could do it longwise. Instead of doing a square, do it like
10 feet wide by...
20 feet wide.
Yeah.
That way, people won't go there, and it'd be the benefit of help cleaning the water in that area.
I'm just looking for, I know the state has looked with shellfish restoration, putting some of this product in uncertified water and seasonally uncertified water. I had a conversation with Cornell last year, because unfortunately, we don't have a lot of uncertified water to do a lot of these projects. Which
Don't
is
say unfortunately, that's a good thing.
I'm joking.
I know.
I'm joking, because, because a
Bite your
lot
tongue.
of the other towns like Huntington and Brookhaven have a lot of
Yeah.
uncertified water, and I think that's why the state was looking towards that. Maybe a conversation with Chris Pickrell at Cornell, asking him where the state is as far as allowing this. And another thought is, I believe in Cold Springs by the Lobster Inn, there is actually uncertified water right in front of the launching ramp there, which would be a really easy area to oversee. And I know there's been clams and oysters in there over the years.
That's really muddy in there.
But it has stumps in there, and it has a bunch of,
Yeah, you have to go, once you
around
go,
the edge.
once you go 10 feet off the beach, it's
Yeah, I
muddy.
mean, doing this, we would, enlist, our ability to do a public hearing and bring all the user groups in there like we did with the other sanctuaries. I think it's a good idea, and maybe we can, myself, you and Bill, or someone could sit down and pick out an area and see if it's something that, moving forward, that we can really, look at and really, put forward towards the community as far as restoration. So I think it's a great idea. And one other thing, we are looking at probably, or trying to get a grant to do a proposal to do a fish ladder at the mill and water mill from Mill Pond, from Mecox Bay to Mill Pond. So we're looking for CPF funding, hopefully that we can get that process started. We looked at several consultants, programs that they've done and projects, and we've kind of like tried to craft ours as uniquely to Mecox in that area, and hopefully we can get some money to move this forward.
I'd be happy to support that. It would be I was looking at that, I think it'd be the first time in over 300 years that fish would be able to get to Mill Pond.
Yeah, I think, and we've asked, I don't know if you were asked, but we asked Byron Young and a few other people to write letters of support for this. I don't know if it's something that you, as the Peconic Bay keeper, would be looking to give us a letter of support so that we can give that to the CPF committee along with all the other paperwork that we keep.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Pete. Thank you so much for a great presentation, first of all,
Thanks,
and
Ann.
I hope whoever's not feeling well feels better. And so what I'm wondering is, Pew Charitable Trust, through their SOAR program, and now continuing that program through the Big Uglies, the proposed Big Uglies program, they've been able to move oysters. How are they able to do that, yet you're not able to do it with the relay?
I am pretty sure, my understanding is they still haven't, I might be wrong on this, but my understanding is they've still only been able to primarily move these into kind of certified water areas or areas that have some sort of surveillance plan
Okay.
in place. And I'm actually, I'm currently working with them as part of the mapping committee. Just a heads up, pretty soon the trustees will probably be contacted through this program to identify different areas that might be potential restoration sites. So that'll be it's a good opportunity, I think, to kind of think about, where, Shinnecock's been a great success, and there are a number of sites around there, but it's pretty limited in the Peconics, aside from, I believe, Red Creek Pond and North Sea Harbor. Is there another site in the Peconics?
I don't
currently, another sanctuary
I
site.
don't think so.
Yeah,
but-
yes, and there's a sanctuary in Sag Harbor Cove.
Sag Harbor Cove,
There's a
right.
sanctuary in Noyak. There's a sanctuary in Mill Creek. These are all areas that we've, put clams in historically. There's one in Red Creek Pond,
Yeah, Bird Creek.
and I think we have put some shellfish in the eelgrass sanctuary in West Neck Complex.
Okay.
So.
But it's been primarily for clams, so.
Clams, yes,
I understand,
and
right?
clams and
Okay.
scallops in West Neck.
And
Yeah.
small.
And we are trying to grow
And
some
some
scallops
oysters.
this year as well, and that's, another thing with Cold Spring, they are hanging on in there, despite what else is going on in the rest of the bay.
We did a project through the Suffolk County, I guess, some Department of Health, I guess, with the Baymen's Association. They had given us some money, and we basically purchased some cinder blocks, lobster pot buoys, and hung bags, basically onion bags in there as
Right.
spat collectors. We stuffed onion bags in onion bags, and we had great success getting juvenile scallops to set in them. It was, I think myself, Samuel Spoli, and a couple other baymen did it. I believe we deployed about 20 of these apparatuses, basically with a cinder block and floating, and it was up in the water column. And we had a great, I guess we had about 100,000 juvenile, scallops that we caught in these collectors. And the funny thing is, that year, there was a terrible set of scallops in there on the bottom. There was virtually none that landed on the bottom, but we caught them in our nets. I don't know if this is something you see in your oyster cages floating up and the scallops setting in there, or I'm just really curious to see what other organisms you see in your oyster, your floating oyster
Yeah.
cages.
So in the floating cages, the oysters are in bags. I did see, I wouldn't say I saw a ton of scallops last year, but I did see some. They'll even attach just to the lines and the outsides of the cages. And I do find a few in the bags from time to time. We get a lot of blue crabs go up into the cages because it's a good spot for them to molt. And we see lots of grass shrimp and silver sides and that sort of thing. But we do also, from time to time, we do we'll flip the cages when they're not being used and air dry them for a day or so. So we're not really seeing any long-term recruitment in there. But the bay scallops are definitely setting on the bags. And I think, if you have onion bags and you want to hang some off the cages and get them to me, or the lines there, I'd be happy to do that and see what we get.
Oh, I can get you some recycled onion bags, and we could try that. I think it'd be a really neat project to do.
Yeah.
Good.
Just two more things. Pete, I just want to suggest, maybe following up on your comments about the North Sea Road Zoom meeting on
Right.
Monday, I believe that's a Monday? No,
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Monday the 28th.
Tuesday, the 28th, I think.
Or was it Tuesday?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
Tuesday,
so.
sorry.
Yeah, at 7 PM. I know I've gotten some calls from people who are looking at the Alewife Drain now and are concerned about the condition there. So just to really emphasize, not only to the board, but also to the public, that this is an opportunity to weigh in with this culvert work, or with this road work being done, to help with improving that culvert as well.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where, there's been some really great restoration work that's happened all around the island with all these fish passages. But the Alewife Creek going to Big Fresh is currently recognized as the most significant or largest remaining river herring run on the entire island. Even though it works, I think just some modest improvements, like what's going on with Noyak Road eventually, and then some improvements to the culvert on North Sea Road. I believe that I was told by the Suffolk County, I think that was put in close to 100 years ago. So I'm pretty sure we can come up with a better plan than they might have 100 years ago for long-term benefit, because they're probably not going to be coming through and doing any road work there anytime soon again.
Right. And then just lastly, can you just expand really quickly on the half shells for habitat program? Just describe how you're going to implement that and what your projections are as to how you're going to just roll with it.
Yeah, so this is kind of a newer thing for us. But I've been in touch with Maureen Dunn, who's from CTUP Environmental, that kind of started this program. There are different iterations of these programs, but essentially we would partner with some local restaurants or seafood folks. We have a few people that are interested. We would collect oyster shell, clean oyster shell, and I know Maureen was. I don't think this is finalized yet, but we're looking to get a curing site in Hampton Bays, potentially at the transfer station there. This has not been finalized yet, but the shell has to cure for, I believe it's about a year or so before it can be used. And so that could be used for town projects. If we end up putting in our own sanctuary and wanted to put down some shell to see what's going on, we'd be able to do it. If the trustees had other projects, they would be able to use that shell. But the idea is kind of closing that waste stream and using the shell. It's really important that you want to cure it, because you don't want to introduce oysters shell from elsewhere that hasn't dried sufficiently. We don't want to bring in any diseases to the ecosystem. But basically just to close the loop and kind of return the shells back to the environment, so we can enhance recruitment in the way that oysters typically work in the ecosystem.
We did this back
Super.
in the day, right?
Yes.
Thank
We had
you.
our own storage facility that we had off Dune Road.
We had a storage facility up at Triton Lane where we recycled scallop shells and skimmer clam shells. And it was a smell issue.
There was a
You know-
smell issue.
And Triton Lane is basically far enough away from, people's houses so they don't have any issues. Problem up there is everybody was going up there and taking the shells. They want to make a driveway, they want to,
Right.
have a garden, so you put the shell there, and there was a big pile of it. 2 weeks later, it would be, picked down, people would go take the shells, especially after they'd cured for a few
And it
months.
still ended up being a smell issue even down there.
Yeah.
I remember getting complaints.
Yeah, but, our board would be all supportive of that. I think it's a great project. And unfortunately, we don't have the base scallop industry like we previously had, where we could stockpile hundreds and hundreds of, bushels of empty shells and pick away from them. Hopefully, we can get the base scallop industry back on its feet, and then we'll have plenty of shell to give to you and to everybody else, because scallop shell really works the best is for clutch for oysters, because, the oysters set on them. By the time the oysters mature, the shell kind of dissipates, and, it's a good way to establish them.
Good substrate.
Yes. Well, Pete, I want to thank you
Thanks.
for your presentation.
Thank you.
Pete. That was
Very nice
great.
job.
Thank you all, and
Thank you, Peter.
I'll follow up more about the sanctuary, but thank you for your
Thank you.
support.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, Charles, anybody else on Zoom?
For a public portion, you mean?
Yes.
There's people on, but no hand.
Okay, so we're going to go to the public portion. 3 minutes. Anybody that has to address the board on anything that's not on our agenda here, you raise your hand if you're on Zoom, or raise your hand if you're in the audience. No hands. Okay, so we'll dispense with the public portion and move right to applications for permits. The Board of Trustees hereby waive a public hearing on the following application because it's been determined that the following projects do not raise significant degree of public interest or public input is not needed to aid in the decision-making process here at this time. So the first one that I have is 2023-82. This was the application of the Angry Chicken Holdings LLC at 5 Fair Oaks Lane in the village of Quogue. Tax map 902-6-1-13. This was an application that we worked on at the work session, met all Blue Book requirements. I recommend its approval.
I'll second it.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Of trustee resolution 2023-83, it's the application of Howard Goldstein, 5 Indian Run, East Quogue, tax map number 900-344-1, Safe Point 4, located on the Carter Creek. This is another application that we did review at work session. I believe this does meet Blue Book regulations at this point in time, and therefore meets our standards for permit issuance at this point in
I'll
time.
second it, Scott.
Seconded by trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Got trustee resolution 2023-84. It's the application of Shinbone Bay LLC, 48 Shinnecock Road, tax map number 902-10-3-9.9. Another application that we worked at work session, does meet Blue Book regulations at this point in time, recommend its
I'll
approval.
second that.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-85, application of Andrew Fliss, 64 Down East Lane, Village of Southampton, tax map number 904-12-1-1-2, body of water, Hetty Creek. We went through a work session with this, and I advise this to go forward.
I'll second that.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Trustee resolution 2023-86, application for 142C Newtown Lane LLC, 142 Newtown Lane, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-186-2-28.3, body of water, Great Peconic Bay. We worked on this at work session. I believe it meets all the criteria to be approved, so I'd like a second.
Second.
Seconded trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-87, application of 361 Dune Road, LLC, 361 Dune Road, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-179-2-21.1, body of water, Atlantic Ocean. This is for the installation of 3 rows of snow fencing. I'd like to request its approval.
Second.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2023-88, modification to the application BP 000486, 14 Kayaks LLC, 545 Sagaponack Road, Village of Sagaponack, Suffolk County Tax Map 908-3-2-6.2, body of water, Sagaponack Pond. This is for construction of a dock. I'd like to request its approval.
I'll second that.
Second, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee resolution 2022-348, we worked on this extensively. It's the aquaculture program sites with GPS coordinates. It's been tabled several times. The first 14 areas that we are going to propose are in western Shinnecock Bay. Then there are 2 in Cold Springs that were previously approved, 1 in Mauritius Bay, 1 in North Sea Harbor, actually 3 in North Sea Harbor, 1 in Tiana Bay, and 1 in Woolley Pond. We're going to initially start out with the 14 that are in Western Shinnecock Bay, we're going to put up 5 of them for the initial lease this year. So I, worked on it, we worked on this very diligently, so I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
Second, trustee Welker, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for everybody.
I'd like to thank everybody that contributed, both members of the public and different organizations and the board, to making this come to fruition.
Thank you. Okay, we have a resolution 2023-89. It's the authorization to purchase of chain and shackles for buoys. Whereas the trustees obtained quotes for chain and shackles for the buoys from Campbell Republic Crane and Hoist, as well as West Marine Campbell Republic Crane and Hoist Corp. being the lowest responsible bidder with a quote of $1,987. To make a motion to.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2023-90, to authorize the purchase of snow fence and stakes for the POVA program. Whereas the trustee requires snow fence and stakes for the pipe and plover program, where the trustees Resolution 2023-01 requires an authorized resolution for any expended exceeding $1,000. Whereas the Board of Trustees have obtained a quote from East Islip Lumber for $3,868 using Suffolk County SFPSTW041022, and so be it. Resolved to authorize the payment of East Islip Lumber, and the source of funding should be GL 01-998700-01-6426-0000 in the amount not to exceed $3,868. I have one quick question on this.
Yep,
What side of this GL number is it?
that's on the town.
It's a town.
Okay, just
The
wanna make
last
sure.
Bill, the last 4 numbers of the GL is
Okay.
000, and that's a town account.
Okay.
Thank you
I just
for
want to
asking.
let,
No.
I just want to let people know from our
Yep,
TV
thank you, Bill. I'll second that, Billy.
Seconded,
Thank you.
trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Trustee Resolution 2023-91. This is a road review application for 1230 Noyak Path LLC. I attended the road review committee meeting the other day, and there was a productive discussion between the town engineering office and the highway department. And there is going to be some additional work, some additional drainage, proposed drainage work looked into. So at this point, I'd like to table this resolution.
All right, I'll second that.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is tabled.
Trustee Resolution 2023-92. This is to recall and amend Trustee Resolution 2022-306 for the Board of Trustees fee schedules. So this specifically, if you flip through, is to add, we are, as part of the kayak rack program, when we add a site to the kayak rack, you have to add it on the fee schedule. So if you look on page 16, we are adding the proposed location at Squires Pond Road in Hampton Bays due to significant input from that community who are looking to have a kayak rack there. So this is the first step in that process.
Okay,
I'll second
thank
it.
you. Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2023-93, warrant 05 of the year 2023. Resolve per recommendation of the review of by the town comptroller, the following vendor payment warrant 5 will be approved with an amount of $18,408.99. Automated rentals, $720.70. Con and Con, $7,631.50. H2M Architect and Engineer, $4,700. Joseph Lavada, $2,235. NYS Industry for this, $559. PSEGL, $266.61. Riverhead Bone Supply, $1,793. Town of Southampton, $502.76. Total of $18,408.99. Looking for a second for that.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Welker, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, Lisa, what is the town for $502?
That's for Box. It's it's
Software
a
program.
software
Okay.
program
You
that
gotta reimburse.
Stephanie
Okay.
uses
Okay.
to give people the FOIAs through
That is-
email.
All right, thanks.
Trustee Resolution 2023-94, authorize the expenditure for fish stocking of ponds and lakes with brook and rainbow trout for 2023. The amount is going to be not to exceed $5,000. We upped the amount a little bit from last year. There's a lot of interest in the fishing in the local communities in the fresh water, so I recommend its approval.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
There's also that group that wants to work on doing even more than that, right?
Well,
They want to
yes.
contribute.
Came in last week.
Yeah,
Right.
the one, they had presented to us, I said we were going to follow through with our annual
Sure.
stocking in the springtime. If they can get together and raise some more money, and give it to us by the fall, then we can do a fall, fish stocking also. That way the fish can winter over and grow.
God bless you.
So, yeah,
We'll do some program
Yep,
like the Osprey polls or something.
yep.
Good. Okay, Ann, you got one.
Trustee Resolution 2023-95. This is a resolution in support of the Mill Creek to Mill Pond Fish Passage. I just have a question. There are a couple words in the second to last and last paragraph, just changing this slightly because we've only submitted an application to the Water Quality Committee. We have not yet received approval for the funding. So may I correct it and read it as corrected?
Oh, well,
So that,
when I wrote it, I was saying we're supporting it being approved. We're not necessarily assuming it will be approved, but hoping that they will.
So it's okay as written?
I think it's okay as written.
okay, then I'm gonna just read it into the record, please. Whereas Board of Trustees of the freeholders and commonality of the town of Southampton are owners of underwater lands known as Mill Pond and Mill Creek located in the hamlet of Watermill, whereas the trustees have applied for a water quality grant for funds to construct a fish passage from Mill Creek to Mill Pond, and whereas the fish passage will contribute to the development of a healthy balance of fish biomass, together with planned stocking, will restore native fish populations and reduce the negative impacts of invasive species such as common carp. Now therefore be it resolved that the trustees agree that the Mill Creek to Mill Pond Fish Passage project is of significant value and will help to improve the water quality of Mill Pond and restore the habitat for native fish. Be it further resolved, the trustees support the award of this water quality grant because of the public purpose it serves with respect to the environment and the health and safety of the inhabitants of the town of Southampton as it relates to Mill Pond. And be it further resolved that the trustees fully support the approval of the Mill Creek to Mill Pond Fish Passage project by the Water Quality Improvement Committee.
I'll second it.
Second, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion that we have? Before we go into a short additional executive session to discuss personnel and litigation, is there anything that
I
we
just
can bring
have
up in open
one
session?
other thing.
Sure.
I spoke to Ed about this. I had a couple of calls over the weekend. I'd like to have Lisa maybe write a letter email to the Bay Constable, see if they can do a survey at low tide of North Sea Channel and Entranceway,
North Sea Harbor.
North Sea Harbor, excuse me. Thanks, Ann. Outside and
No,
inside.
I'm glad.
I have been contacted, well, I've been contacted the Suffolk County DPW also, looking at the East Cut. They sent over their survey and their proposed dredge site plan that was approved by the Army Corps and the DEC, asking us for to have the Bay Constable do a survey for local knowledge of any shoaling, which there is quite a bit of. I contacted Richie Franks and the Bay Constables. They said the first nice day that they will go over and do a survey of that channel and write any, were there any shoaling, so we could forward it to the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. And they said if it gets there in a timely fashion, that they're looking to do the dredging this fall, which would be expediting it about a year earlier than it has previously been thought it could be done. Also, the osprey nest that was on Common Point that the storm of the Christmas storm took down, I located it, and I'm going to supply it to the Bay Constable so the marine maintenance guys can put it back up. And the birds are here, the ospreys are here in considerable numbers, so it'll be just in time for the nesting time.
Thanks, Ed.
On the dredging side, we still have the conversation going for the southern end of Shinnecock Canal. We're working through the Congressman's office with the Army Corps to try and get some attention drawn to that, because that's been problematic for quite a while. So H&L did a nice survey on that one, so that part of it's already done, but we're still going through the process. It's a bit of a lengthy process, as you all are aware, when it comes to dredging. But it needs to be done. So it's like less than 5 feet at mean low water, as per the survey.
And we opened both the Mecox and Sag Cuts earlier in the month, and the Sag Cut has closed with significant nor'easters that have come through, several significant nor'easters. Mecox remains open though, and flowing well, and the salinity in there is 24, and it had been hovering in the single digits, 5 or 6. So that means that our project this fall with the longer dredge has been very effective. So we look forward to more good news.
Yes. Okay. Anything else that you have? Nothing there? All right. That being said, I will make a motion to adjourn and go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel and litigation matters.
Second.
Seconded, trustees Pell and Welker. All in favor? Aye. Great afternoon, everybody.